We're identifying chalk, contrarian picks, and also great value picks. These are my DFS NFL picks for week 16. What's going on, Couch fam? Still feeling a little bit sick today, but good enough to do this video. Let's get to the picks. So I'm trying to separate the Saturday games from the Sunday games. I wish it was just all one main slate, Saturday through Monday. I think that would be a lot better, but it's proven that people want to play the one-day slates where you get to pick players, and at the end of the day, you look, see if you won big money or not. I mean, that's what it's showing. That's what the site's like, and that's what's happening. So I kind of try to separate from Saturday from Sunday. And so Saturday we have 3 games going on: Texans, Bucks, Bills, Patriots, Rams, 49ers. And I approach each position differently. So for quarterbacks for Saturday, I'm going to rank them from 1 through 6. So number 1, I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. Going up against the Bucks, terrible secondary, terrible pass defense, and he has some rushing upside. Also, the Bucks have really good run defense. And for Deshaun Watson, number 1 quarterback going against the Bucks, Vegas has it as a pretty high scoring game. Some places over under 49, some 49.5, some around over under is 50. If I was playing GPP, I'd probably fade Jameis Winston. I think a lot of people really like him. I think I'm not fading Jameis Winston. Another quarterback I would fade is Tom Brady in all formats, just because I have him ranked number 6. So even though I got Jameis Winston ranked number 2, projected to score the second most fantasy points, I would fade him just really because he's going to be popular. He's going to be a little bit chalky. Watson will be chalky as well, but that's how much belief I have in him. High floor, high ceiling. Number 3 quarterback I project to score the most fantasy points Saturday is Jimmy G, going up against the Rams, priced at $5,500. Number 4 is Josh Allen, and this might be a slight surprise, but really, it's because he has those rushing stats. We've seen the Patriots the last couple years get hurt by mobile quarterbacks this year and last year. And Josh Allen is very athletic. He's a big guy. He can make plays happen. 10 rushing touchdowns this year. that's a lot of rushing touchdowns for Josh Allen. So he's going to need to do something on the ground, because obviously he's not going to pass for 300 yards or 3 touchdowns. I mean, he never does that against any team, and he really won't do that against the Patriots. And then number 5, I do have Jared Goff. Don't really trust the Rams going against the Niners. And of course, Niners D hasn't been that great last couple games. But with Richard Sherman coming back, I have no faith in the Rams offense. And they did really bad against the Niners the first time they faced off. And now they're facing off in San Francisco. That was in LA last time. So now in SF with Richard Sherman coming back, don't like Jared Goff. This video is sponsored by Prolytics. Prolytics offers a complete DFS tool suite with projections, including ceiling and floor projections. That's very important. Lineup optimizers, a weekly cheat sheet with the top picks and top stacks, as well as several other tools to help you win. Their modern machine learning AI technology is what really separates Prolytics from the competitors. Because of all the positive feedback from the Couch fam and other users, Prolytics has decided to keep partnering with us, and right now they're offering a free trial. So follow the link below in the description and use promo code COUCH to get your free trial. I use it every week and highly recommend it. Now back to the picks. So that's what we decided to do for the 6 quarterbacks on Saturday's slate. Rank all 6. And yeah, a little bit funny here, but I'm only going to talk about 2 quarterbacks. I'm all in on Lamar Jackson, 8,000 going against the Browns. Ravens have something to go for here. They win and they clinch everything. They clinch the 1 seed, home advantage, a bye, everything. So if they win this week, the Ravens are the best team in the NFL, number 1 seed in the AFC. On top of that, they lost against the Browns, and they hate the Browns. They're going to be so pissed going into this game. So they lost 40-25 against the Browns in week 4. This was when people were calling me a clown and making fun of me for saying Lamar Jackson was a top 2 MVP candidate. It was so long ago. The Ravens offense wasn't fully like we weren't fully aware how good this Ravens offense could be. They were still kind of finding their identity because they did well week 1. That was against the Dolphins. So people didn't really realize, are they the real deal? Can they be stopped? But since then, around week 4, 5, 6, 7, since around that time, we know Ravens are super elite. They can't seem to lose a game, and they will not lose against the Browns. They will absolutely dominate in all phases of the game, and the Browns still have an opportunity to score a little bit with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So if they're able to do that, Lamar Jackson will still be in there. And don't give me that crap like you guys give me about, oh, he's going to be benched in the 4th quarter. So look, if Lamar Jackson gets benched for RG3, that means the man already has 30 fantasy points. So it's a great sign. It means they're dominating. And no Myles Garrett for the Browns. Yeah, I'm all in on Lamar Jackson, but I did want to have another option to pivot from because Jackson is the most expensive quarterback in DFS this week out of any slate. I'm going to go with Daniel Jones here. Great matchup against Washington. He's a gunslinger, sort of like Aaron Rodgers when it comes to the inconsistencies. We see Daniel Jones put up 8 fantasy points, 12, 14 fantasy points, and we've seen him put up 40 fantasy points. 33 fantasy points multiple times. He's going to give you 10 or 30, nothing really in between, and that's exactly what we like in GPPs. The Daniel Jones hype has gone away just a little bit. Now, I am worried that he might be picked by more people. If I arrive to this, I see a lot more DFS players arriving to it as well. I'm not too scared of being chalky. Like I said, I'm going with Lamar Jackson, who's going to be chalky as well. Some people will probably be picking guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick. I see him being owned a lot at 6,000, only 100 more than Daniel Jones. But yeah, I like Daniel Jones going against Washington. Okay, shifting. Hope this isn't getting too confusing. Going back to Saturday running backs. I like 2 running backs, and that's Raheem Mostert priced at 6,100 and Duke Johnson priced at 4,100. And keep in mind, I am factoring everything. I'm factoring in ownership. I'm factoring in ceilings, and I like to focus a lot more on GPPs than cash, although we'll go through some cash picks here and there. So those are the 2 guys I like. I think I'm going to fade Gurley. Don't trust the Rams at all. I just don't see them performing well. Niners will stop the run. And yeah, I mean, James White's really good. He's a little bit more of a cash game play, but that's why I like Duke Johnson so much. When the Texans go up against a team that's good against the run, they'll use Duke Johnson more. And then when the Texans are kind of dominating the game, going against a team that's maybe good against the pass and really bad against the run, they'll go with Carlos Hyde, especially when they have more of a lead. But in this game, I see them going a little bit more with Duke Johnson, the pass catching back. So obviously there are other picks, but I mean, I'm not going to go through all. There's only like 9 or 10 running backs to pick from, and I'm not going to go through all of them. Yeah, I mean, Singletary's getting a lot of carries, but don't really love him against the Patriots. So those are my 2 guys I like. Raheem Mostert, who's kind of the more of an obvious one, and then I think Duke Johnson's a little bit less obvious. I really do like him going against the Bucs. He can get you those PPR points. Okay, for Sunday, do we go with C-Mac or not? And I'm going to go with fading him yet again. He's going to really need to give you 30 fantasy points, which he definitely can, but I think he's an average goal line back, and he needs those big plays to get you those big points. Now, he will still put up 20 fantasy points just because he gets so many targets. He's so involved in the pass game. C-Mac's getting nearly 10 targets a game, and that's just absolutely nuts for any position, let alone a running back. And I'd rather go with a guy like Chris Carson, who the game script is just totally favoring. They're at home. Seahawks will win. Christian Kirk is questionable. And with Rashad Penny out, Chris Carson's going to get well over 20 touches, well over 20 carries, and just absolutely dominate this game. He's also good in the pass game. Not the most amazing receiver or anything like that, but he has good hands. All he has to do is hold on to the football and not fumble it. And then I also like Ezekiel Elliott just because of his price. And people might get a little bit scared of the Eagles, but last time they faced, he got 30 fantasy points. That was week 7. This time, look, they just got to give the man carries. The Cowboys have a great O-line. They can run even against teams like the Eagles. And 6,600, Joe Mixon. This will be chalky. Everyone will arrive to this. After last week, Saquon had his best game of the season. 33 fantasy points against the Dolphins. A lot of Saquon owners and people that pick Saquon in DFS were so happy. And now Mixon's been on a roll. The only stat I really need to show you, other than the Dolphins are bad, is that he got 21.6 fantasy points against the Patriots. Mixon has pretty much been on fire the second half of the season. Something we really like to see as Mixon owners and people that pick Mixon in DFS. And look at that. I mean, you get 30 points against the Browns, 21 points against the Patriots. You're guaranteed to get at least 20 against the Dolphins. Price isn't very cheap, but it's not expensive by any means. Just really quickly want to talk about a few more. Kenyon Drake, 6,300. He's going to get a lot of touches. In order for him to do well against the Seahawks, I'd like to see him get more involved in the pass game. Let's see how that goes. Only got 1 target last week, but still was the best running back, 42 fantasy points, absolutely blew up. And then we have Philip Lindsay. I love this pick here because it goes like this. Yeah, he started out a little bit hot. He had some pretty good games, 10 points, 29 points. So he's in the 20s. He's in the double digits a lot. And then like since week 11, he's just been atrocious. Just always getting single-digit points. Last week, 3 fantasy points against what seemed to be a bad run defense. Chiefs D has their mojo back. Somehow, last 3 weeks, Chiefs D has been good. Now this week, they face the Lions. Game scripts change. Broncos are pretty serious favorites to win this game. And the Lions defense is bad in all facets. Like they're not just bad against running backs. They're bad at everything. Philip Lindsay still running hard. And because of this, last game he got 3 fantasy points. Not too many people will be picking him just because of that. Now, he won't be a sleeper by any means. He'll still be owned. But like I'm saying, let's say if he got 30 fantasy points last week, he would be way more owned this week because he only got 3 fantasy points. He's not going to be that popular. 5,300, very good price. He also can catch a little bit. He catches from time to time. He catches way more passes, though, than Adrian Peterson, priced at 5,000. I think of AP as a low ceiling guy, but very high floor. He's going to get around 10 to 20 fantasy points and bring back value. I like that, but hey, there's that chance he scores, 3 touchdowns. He's playing the Giants, and that's kind of what you're hoping for in a GPP. I'd say he's a little bit more of a cash game play. Speaking of a chalk, we have DeAndre Washington, priced at 4,000. I like him. He's going to be good, but he's going to be super chalky. That's why in GPPs, I'm pivoting to his teammate, the one, the only. I'm stalling to find him. Where are you at? 3,700. I wrote down. I wrote down the price wrong. 3,500. I wrote it down. Wrong. Okay, Jalen Richard, 3,500. The pass catching back. Raiders will be behind this game. Well, it'll probably be a messy game. That's tough to predict, but still, I think most of us believe the Raiders will be behind. Jalen Richard will be heavily involved in the pass game. Maybe he'll get us 7 targets, maybe 5-6 receptions. All he's got to do is break one big play. And Jalen Richard, you're my punt of the week. Not really much analysis to give you guys on Saturday wide receivers, other than Hopkins is my number number 1 wide receiver. Other 2 Texans wide receivers are intriguing, Will Fuller and Kenny Stills. I believe Will Fuller is the one to pick because he's questionable. Less people are going to pick him because he's had a bad game. Less people are going to pick him because he's missed games recently due to injury. Less people will pick him. He's inconsistent. The price isn't great. So on and so forth. Could be a little bit windy game, but that's why I do like Fuller. Also, I believe he'll have the best matchup as far as how defenses will play him. Best cornerback will likely be on Hopkins. Second best cornerback will likely be on Kenny Stills. And the double team, if they decide to do so, will likely go to Hopkins, as Hopkins is slated to dominate this game. I know that, you know that, the Texans know that, also the Bucs know that, so they may decide to double team Hopkins quite often. Will Fuller, we've seen it before, he just needs that one big time catch, and that's what he's all about. Absolutely love Will Fuller in GPPs. When you're doing these Saturday slates or your Turkey Day slates or 2-game slates, 3-game slates, you got to be a little bit creative. You have to go a little bit contrarian, because if you pick all the normal players that everyone's picking, you'll do absolutely nothing, because there's going to be a ton of teams, a ton of entries with the same exact line, not even a similar lineup, the exact same lineup, and lineups that are extremely similar. So if you're off by just that one player, and there's going to be a lot of other teams that have that one player that you missed on. So you really have to separate yourself. The shorter, the less games in the slate, the more you got to separate yourself. That's just the way it goes. And a lot of projections are saying Rashard Perryman at number 2. Now, I've seen this guy play quite a bit, and other than this big game he had, he really hasn't had too many good games in his career. He's been dropping the ball a lot, but I'm still not ignoring the upside with him and Jameis Winston and Bruce Arians. It's still there, but my number 2 really does have to go to Julian Edelman, assuming this guy is actually healthy and he's really not injured. I like Julian Edelman, even though he's going up against the Bills. I think they can attack the Bills via Julian Edelman, just put him in positions to succeed. So I'm ranking him number 2. I trust Edelman more, and I trust Perryman less. Perryman had a baller game last week, so a lot of people will be picking him. So yeah, number 1 Hopkins, number 2 Edelman, number 3 Perryman, and a pivot from Perryman would be Justin Watson. He's now the number 2 wide receiver for the Buccaneers. Mike Evans out, Godwin out, and now Scotty Miller's out too. He's on IR, so Justin Watson might be the number 1 highest scoring receiver on the Buccaneers. And other picks in GPP, you could go with Robert Woods if you're bold. Facing the Niners, that's a bit scary. And any of the Niners receivers like Deebo Samuel or Emmanuel Sanders. Sunday wide receivers, I think you have to try to go with Michael Thomas in cash games. I think his floor is going to be so high. Like, how does this man not get you 10 receptions, not get you 20 fantasy points? Really, no wide receiver provides a floor anywhere close to the one Michael Thomas will provide. So I think I'd, avoid C-Mac in a cash game and go with Michael Thomas in a cash game. I think you have to. Other wide receivers I like is Devontae Parker. Really, the offense runs through him. I see him getting a ton of targets. Only thing you got to worry about here is the weather. So it might be a little bit of rain, might be a little bit of wind. Not afraid of that at all. But in case I'm wrong, in case the meteorologists are wrong and the weather is much worse, keep tabs on that, because Fitzmagic may not throw the ball down the field as often and as deep. And so just a little bit cheaper, Devontae Parker was $6,800 going against the Bengals. We have Amari Cooper. I like him at $6,700 going against the Eagles. But in GPP, I'm thinking of pivoting and going with Michael Gallup. Like I've been saying with some of the receivers I mentioned, I think Gallup might get less attention, might have a good matchup against the worst Eagles defensive backs. Michael Gallup, love his price, love him in GPP, probably won't be owned too much, and he just had a really bad game. Well, pretty much all the wide receivers for the Cowboys had a bad game. 1.6 fantasy points last week, and hasn't really been doing too much, but we know he can explode. It's just facts. 25 fantasy points week 1, 27 week 5, and here was another big game. 26 fantasy points week 11 against the Lions. So we know he's capable of getting us over 20 fantasy points, and at 5,500, I definitely will take that. One that I like, regardless, he'll be chalky, but I don't care. GPP cash, love him. 4,900, Danny Amendola, he'll get the target. I think the defense will concentrate on shutting down Golladay. You shut down Golladay and you pretty much win the game. There's no Marvin Jones. The run game's never been that good. The RB's never balled out. So yeah, shut down Golladay. Put Chris Harris on him. Let Amendola get a couple catches just for us in DFS. And we'll leave you alone, Broncos D. Let that happen. Last week he did blow up. He did very well. How much did he get us? 20, 21, 23 fantasy? What was it? 21.2 fantasy points against the Bucks. I had a really slow start too, and then just started racking up points. Got us that 100-yard bonus. That's what we love to see. And I'm hopping back on this. I'm gonna do it. 4,000 for Corey Davis. Everyone's on the AJ Brown hype train, rightfully so. But if they decide to shut him down, the Saints D, Corey Davis is the next man up. He gets the most snaps out of all the other wide receivers other than AJ Brown nowadays. So he'll be lined up. The targets haven't really been there, but we've seen this guy have a few decent career games. Now, I'd be shocked if he got more than 20, 23 fantasy points. That's a kind of a miracle, but hey, sometimes you need miracles to win big in GPP. I love the price. Let's see how the Saints defense decides to play the wide receivers of the Tennessee Titans. Saturday tight ends, everyone's going to rank George Kittle number 1, so I'm not even going to talk about that. It's pretty obvious, but if I'm playing GPP, I'm targeting guys like OJ Howard, priced at 4,000. Brashard Perryman at 30 fantasy points last week. Chance he does that again is very slim. The chance that OJ Howard and the Bucks tight ends get more involved in the pass game is much higher. I mean, Bruce Arians does hate the tight ends though, but hey, we're talking GPP, cheap price. I love them. Well, if you do decide to pick Winston, OJ Howard is a good player to stack him with. Also, Darren Fells, very similar situation. So we have Darren Fells and we have Jordan Akins. I see Jordan Akins more of a check down guy. He just doesn't have the upside that we want. But when it comes to Darren Fells, I think he's used a lot more within the 10-yard line, in the red zone and goal line packages. And so I think he has more upside to score that touchdown for you. Both are very cheap, but definitely Darren Fells over Jordan Akins. I don't know. It didn't come out. I kind of was trying to say that I hate Jordan Akins compared to Darren Fells. And then another tight end, if you want to pivot off, would be Cameron Brate. Exact same reasons about OJ Howard, being more involved. Brate has been a really good pass-catching tight end in the past while OJ Howard was hurt or before OJ Howard came into town. And so, yeah, Brate and Jameis Winston, they can make some sweet red zone music together. Sunday, tight ends. What we got here? Okay, so Ertz is gonna get a ton of targets, but I'm going back to it again. Dallas Goedert is who I would pivot in GPPs and go with him. He's about 60% of the price as Zach Ertz. So Dallas Goedert hasn't been doing that well, but he's been there. He's been involved. And so if the Cowboys for some reason decide to shut down Ertz, maybe leave the wide receivers one-on-one, try to shut down Ertz, Dallas Goedert would be the next man up. Even though Goddard's only got 6 targets week 15, 6 targets week 14, I see him getting more targets in this must-win game against the Cowboys. I see him getting around 7, 8, 9 targets, something like that. And I see him doing much better, 4,100. going against the Cowboys. Who else we got here? Oh, Jack Doyle, back on the Jack Doyle train. 4,500 going against the Panthers. Panthers suck, by the way. I think Jack Doyle will do better. And Hollister, are we buying the Hollister hype or not? I definitely am. With Josh Gordon gone, this team's back to Hollister balling out, going against the Cardinals. Absolutely love it. Only worry is that the Seahawks won't throw the ball much. It just won't have to. Hollister will need to score a touchdown for it to be worth it. And with Wilson at quarterback, there's a good chance that that will happen. And one of my favorite tight ends for GPP is going to be Noah Fant. Why I like Noah Fant is because no one's going to own him. Okay, he's not going to be picked. He's going up against the Lions in the second wave of games. He's questionable. So he's going to be, the ownership's going to be way down because of the questionable tag. It's legitimately questionable, even though he's probably going to play, he's expected to play. There's still that chance he doesn't. And so people won't be picking him. He'll be a sleeper. Also, because he's questionable and playing in the second wave of games, he's going to be even less owned because it's not like you can wake up, an hour or two before the big kickoff Sunday at 1 p.m., Sunday 10 a.m., Pacific time, and just swap him out and be good to go. You actually have a limited amount of choices, but I've already came up with a little diagram for us of what we do in case Fant is out. So you set your alarm. Kickoff is at what? 4:05 p.m., 1:05 p.m. my time. So set your alarm 95 minutes before. Set two alarms, one 95 minutes before, one like 90 minutes before, something like that. We'll know if Fant is in or out. And so there are two tight ends, two decent very good tight ends you can swap them out with in case Fant is injured. So that would be Blake Jarwin, who's priced at 2,900, cheaper than Fant. So 100% you'll be able to swap them out. And if you do this, maybe you'd be able to swap out another, you have the option of swapping out another player like your defense or something like that. So Blake Jarwin, 2,900. He's okay. Also really like Jeff Hireman. He's at 2,500. And I think this will probably be the best one to swap him out with. And of course, you're saying Jeff Hireman, he's not that good. He's, minimum price. But Jeff Hireman would become the number one tight end for Drew Lock to throw to. This is, if Noah Fant is out. So his value goes way up. He'll get a lot more targets. Lock and the tight ends have been looking pretty good, even though he hasn't targeted Jeff Hireman that much. When he has, it's been pretty good. Drew Lock's the best Broncos quarterback we've seen in a while. Also, if you have more salary cap, there's better tight ends to go with. You might have to do some adjusting, but I also have some other options for you. Jacob Hollister is only $500 more than Noah Fant, so it's not a stretch that you'd be able to swap him out with Hollister, who's probably my favorite one out of these that I'm naming. Dallas Goedert also plays in the later games, so Dallas Goedert is 4,100. He's only 400 more expensive than Noah Fant. And one last guy, Jason Witten, 4,000. He's only $300 more expensive than Noah Fant. So there you have it. Noah Fant, questionable, won't be owned, super sleeper. If he's able to outscore all those tight ends, boom, you're going to be rising straight to the top. And I gave you 5 tight ends that you can replace him with in case he is out. And you can do late swaps on most platforms. Keep that in mind. Set your alarm for sure, because you don't want to take a 0 at that tight end. You take a 0, you're done. It's over. That lineup is screwed. So you definitely want to set your alarm. And I'd set 2 alarms. There you go. Life advice from the brain. Set your alarms. Defenses for Saturday, you can legitimately pick all 3. My number 1 defense to score the most fantasy points is, of course, the Patriots. Low scoring game against the Bills. Patriots defense been the best defense this entire year. My favorite value defense, though, is the Bills. I think the Bills have a legitimate chance of winning this game. Now, it's in Foxborough. That doesn't bode well. It's tough to win there. But this game's going to come down to the difference between 1 touchdown. It's going to be super low scoring. So if the Bills D can get a pick 6 or block a punt or something crazy, you know, just any type of crazy play, or the Patriots miss a couple field goals, or even if they go for it on fourth down because they don't trust their kicker, something crazy might happen. And we've seen the Patriots, they've been screwing up a lot recently, and especially in the kicking game. They haven't been able to find a kicker they absolutely love since Gostkowski got hurt. Double-edged blade here. When the Bills defense, everyone likes them. They're super cheap price, so you know, I'm not a mastermind for picking the Bills D. Like I said, legitimately, you can pick any of these 6 defenses. They would work. Yeah, I mean, I don't really trust the Rams or Bucks D, but they're the 2 cheapest prices. So there's not really any steals we can get here other than the Bills, who, you know, we already went over. They'll be highly owned. They'll be a little chalky. So for Sunday defenses, my favorite defenses, I have 2 of them. They're the Broncos, 3,500, going up against the Lions. We already talked about that game. Colts D is going up against Will Gree. They're only 3,300. And a super cheap punt that I do like is the Titans D, because I see them, I mean, they played the Texans last week and got 5 fantasy points. Why not be able to do that against the Saints? The Saints are on fire. You're not going to be able to stop Mike Thomas, but if you can stop everything else and make some plays, which the Titans do, they're not a defense that really gives negative fantasy points. They always, no matter who they play, even if they lose, they always find a way to score fantasy points. And I'm telling you, against the Texans, they lost that game. They played against Deshaun Watson, who's really good. Like, they still got 5 fantasy points. So super risky here. But this is how you save so much salary cap. And they're the 3rd cheapest defense. They don't deserve to be the 3rd cheapest defense. They might deserve to be like in the middle of the pack is where they deserve to be. Like right here. They deserve to be priced around, I'd say, like 2,600, something like that. And so they're not. They're priced at 2,100, pretty much guaranteed to get some fantasy points. Defenses are really tough to predict. That's why I like the Titans D. So better defenses, of course, are the Ravens, Steelers, but they're the 2 most expensive, and so keep that in mind. Seahawks D is intriguing. They're very expensive, but if Christian Kirk is out, who's a game time decision, Cardinals will be really banged up, and just it's going to be tough to do anything in Seattle. I don't trust this defense. I just did want to throw that out there. Like I said, Broncos, Colts D, my 2 favorite defenses, and Titans is a great punt. Other than that, you know, you're either spending too much, and the Seahawks are really risky. But I think that Christian Kirk injury is very, very important in this matchup. Well, there you have it. I got through it even though I was sick. Make sure you guys do check out Prolytics. Also use promo code COUCH to get your 1-week free trial. It really helps support the channel out. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. We also have a second YouTube channel, Fantasy Couch Podcast. Subscribe to that one as well. Hit this video up with a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thumbs down if you're going to lose this week. So make sure you leave a thumbs up. All right, guys. I'll see you guys on the next video.